In a previous video, where we covered Governor Ferdinand Waititu's impeachment at the Senate, we said that if Kenya were a doctor's waiting room, the nurse at the end of Waititu's trial would be saying something like, "Next patient, please." And there's been a lot of speculation as to who this next patient will be. The names of 2 or 3 governors have come up. But surprise, surprise, it seems that the next patient is going to be a heavyweight. Somebody higher up the food chain than a mere governor. Oh yes, there's emerging and increasing evidence that that next patient will be Deputy President William Samoei Ruto. And the intent to do this has moved from whispers in backrooms, to the public domain. The Amani National Congress Party, Musalia Mudavadi's party, announced yesterday that they're going to meet on Wednesday. And the agenda of that meeting is to discuss the stand, the position of the party in the upcoming impeachment motion against the deputy president. Team Keleweke politicians are scheduled to meet next week at a Nanyuki hotel, some sort of retreat. And top on the agenda of their discussions will be the impeachment of the deputy president. Team Tangatanga politicians have started talking about it. Bottom line, this thing is going to happen. Wah. And if your thinking is similar to that of Kimilili legislator Didmas Baraza, I'm here to tell you I don't agree. According to Mheshimiwa Didmas Baraza, this impeachment motion against the deputy president is a non-starter. He says impeaching a deputy president is just as difficult as impeaching a president of the Republic of Kenya. Apana, I don't agree. And there are many points and observations that Honorable Barasa misses in talking like that, which we'll cover in this video. By the way, how do his constituents, Bwana Baraza's constituents, how do they pronounce his first name? As a parent, I think sometimes you can decide to punish your own community in naming your child. For instance, giving your child a name Philip and you're a cow is just punishing your relatives. Because all his life, the poor kid will be called Philip. The name Horace is even worse, because the H will always be silent. The community where my late father came from had a huge problem, still have a huge problem, referring to Raila Odinga's party, ODM. Anyway, I can imagine Kimilili constituents referring to their legislator as Titmas. Titmas aliendanga wapi? Hiyo kofia ya Titmas ni smart. Now I'm sure Honorable Titmas is a very intelligent man, and I'm certain is more aware than I am of the points I'm about to bring forward. And so we must assume he was just playing partisan politics in expressing his views this time round. Because, number one, as things stand as of now in Kenyan politics, it should not be difficult to impeach the deputy president. The main reason being, the president and himself are not reading from the same script. Number two, judging by what happened in the Senate last week over the Waititu impeachment issue, it would be difficult to convince anybody here who's impartial that impeaching the deputy president would be difficult. Because I'm sure you're aware, Waititu was impeached by a supermajority. So I don't agree. Impeaching the deputy president at this point in time is not anywhere as difficult as impeaching the president. The other reason, of course, is that this impeachment of the deputy president is being planned at the highest level of the Jubilee government and indeed the handshake team. In fact, recently, When a Jubilee legislator, a very influential one, was contacted to comment on this impeachment of the deputy president issue, he let it slip that plans are at a very advanced stage to revoke the nomination of Senator Kipchumba Murkomen as majority leader in the Senate. Oh yes, in case you didn't know, even Kipchumba Murkomen is going, a very close ally of DP Ruto. All indications are that he will not remain the majority leader in the Senate for much longer. What? I think it's correct to say that Team Tanga are under siege. But by far the most fascinating thing in this whole impeachment story is that those planning it are not even worried that it may fail. In other words, even if the impeachment process fails in the end, they will have achieved the objective. Oh yes, you heard me right. How so? When asked that question, those close to the impeachment are just giving a very short one-sentence answer. And the answer is, we will have sent a message. What? A message? A message to who? Now this is super interesting. You know, we say always on this channel, history keeps on repeating itself. Because these developments remind me very much of the Charles Njonjo inquiry in the 80s. In retrospect, clearly the idea was not to charge Charles Njonjo with treason. No, the idea was to destroy the Duke of Kabeteshire, that's what he was called, completely. To destroy him politically. Remember what happened with the Ferdinand Waititu impeachment? His crimes were discussed in great detail in the Senate, with the Kenyan public following very closely. Now, with the deputy president, it's going to be even worse. Because Waititu's impeachment started in the county assembly. How many Kenyans follow the proceedings of a county assembly? And in this case, the Kiambu County Assembly. The coverage and exposure cannot be anywhere near that of the National Assembly, where the impeachment motion against the deputy president has to start. Stuff that you cannot dare say anywhere in public will be discussed openly in the National Assembly. Stuff that is defamation out here will be dissected and analyzed and debated. And that will just be kionjo. Because the meat of this kwanikwa, as we say in Kenya, being exposed. The juiciest part of this meat, in terms of discussion and dissection of the deputy president, will be in the Senate. If it gets there, that is. Because one of the options the deputy president will be faced with is to resign. Oh yes, that is something Kenyans have to wrap their minds around. Why? Because to avoid public humiliation and because of his future political ambitions, his handlers may advise him simply to resign. Because if he resigns, it all goes away. I believe you're now beginning to understand why a successful impeachment cannot be the main objective of those behind this impeachment motion. Because clearly, even if the impeachment goes nowhere, they will still have scored major points against the deputy president. Which brings us to another very telling comment by a Tanga legislator, the MP for Endebess, Robert Pukose. Now, Endebess is in Trans Nzoia County, and Trans Nzoia is within the Rift Valley. So what did Pukose say, Honorable Pukose? He said that this idea of trying to impeach the deputy president is, wait for this one, is only going to cause chaos. Now, that is what we call in the English language a thinly veiled threat. You know, when we were kids, and you didn't want to fight with somebody, maybe you're scared of them, you draw a line on the soil and you tell them, ebu jaribu kuvuka hiyo line, Ebu jaribu. And many times, if the other person was a brave person, they'd actually cross the line. And guess what would happen next? You draw another line closer to yourself. Okay, hii ni final warning. Ebu vuka hii line nyingine uone. If indeed that was a thinly veiled threat, this story I've just told you illustrates the situation perfectly. Because this is not 2007. Now, maybe before I go any further, there may be a few people in the dark. What threats am I talking about? For a long time now, many analysts have feared any major move against the deputy president, any significant move, could trigger chaos in the Rift Valley, where the deputy president comes from, and where he enjoys radical support. And part of that chaos would be, of course, asking communities that are non-Kalenjin to leave the Rift Valley, followed by a forceful eviction of those communities from the region. This is exactly what happened in 2007. But times have changed. The situation today is very different. For starters, in 2007, very few Kenyans had heard of the International Criminal Court at The Hague. Bottom line, human rights abuses can be punished outside Kenya. Crimes against humanity can be punished outside the country. Because many of the non-Kalenjin communities living in the Rift Valley have lived there for generations. They know no other home. And so, anybody asking them to leave is just being ridiculous. So this is the chaos the Honorable Member of Endebess was referring to. But a lot more has changed the Rift Valley. For example, our security boys, starting in 2008, got involved in a major operation, putting security arrangements into place to ensure that what happened in 2007 will never happen again. And naturally, a lot of the things they did were not announced in public. You don't announce your security precautions to the possible perpetrators, do you? But what I can confidently tell anybody with any of these barbaric ideas is simply, ebu jaribu one. Just try and see what will happen. I think that point I've just covered is very important, especially to those analysts who have always believed nothing can be done against the deputy president. Because if anything is done against the deputy president, there will be chaos in the Rift Valley. Well, that's not true. And the worst that could happen are pockets of violence, which will be quickly dealt with. Because don't think these guys are not ready. Don't for 1 minute imagine that the government of Kenya is so naive as to sit back and relax and wait for you to make a move. No way. But there's another major political danger for the deputy president that I'm sure his supporters are not seeing. Because if somebody in the year 2020 can make a comment like the one Honorable Robert Pukose made, then definitely they're not seeing. And it is this. We're dealing with politics here. And the BBI rallies so far have cast a lot of doubt as to the kind of support the deputy president may have outside the Rift Valley. So imagine a situation where, after Kenyans have already seen this, and after Kenyans are already doubting, his supporters in the Rift Valley rise up to defend their man. They'll have made it very obvious, that their man has support only from one region. It will also isolate them, from any other communities in the country, which they need the support of for the man to be president. Because there are many other non-Kalenjin communities in the Rift Valley. It's not only the Kikuyu, although they're the majority. There are many other communities. So tell me how you'll work out this politically by threatening other communities in your region, and then you go back to the same communities to ask for votes for your man. You tell me, how will that work? This is why the best option for the deputy president right now would be to resign. Yeah, that is, if he still entertains ambitions to be the president of Kenya. Actually, the deputy president is more cornered, than most of his supporters realize. They don't realize that the minute it became clear Deputy President William Samoei Ruto is after the presidency, his options dramatically reduced. And they remain very few as long as he still wants to run for the presidency. Because there's no way you can become president of Kenya by getting only Kalenjin votes. No way. Now, I find it super fascinating that some of the charges that may be brought against the deputy president in an impeachment are the very same ones I discuss in great detail in my latest weekly intelligence briefings, number 28, which if you have not seen, you can still become a member and see. Details on your screens right now. My point is, remember what happened to Ferdinand Waititu, the former governor of Kiambu? The charges he's still facing in court were the basis of his impeachment. Most of those charges. And so some of these investigations against the deputy president that have been going on for a very long time, revealed and discussed in my latest WAB, may form the basis of the charges that we will see if indeed the deputy president is impeached, or if proceedings towards impeaching the deputy president actually start, which I believe they will, assuming he does not resign. And of course, if he doesn't resign, the public discussion on his character, starting in the National Assembly, which will ensue, is really something, nobody can come back from politically. Even in Kenya, where we elect ex-convicts who have not finished serving their terms. Even in Kenya, it will be difficult. Very interesting times ahead. Until next time, this is Chris Kumekucha.